Welcome in, welcome in. It is week one of the 2023 season, and we are back with, with something that I don't, we were hoping was going to be as popular as it was, but we're certainly excited to see how it took off and excited to be back at it. Year two here. It is the WATD High School Football Fantasy Draft. Quinn Kelly, Johnny Rourke, Brennan Connolly, your three hosts of the Sports Exchange here at WATD Sports, and we've got another year ready to get going here. Two exciting games coming up Thursday and Friday night. And before we get into that, well, we've got to pick our players this year. And I think we're better equipped this year to be able to actually tabulate scores. I've found that Huddle is a great tool, and we're starting to get that going towards the end of last season. So I think this year we should be able to put out some actual results and maybe track and see how we're doing and just fill in where we need to. But boys, welcome into year two of the fantasy draft.
Be back, Quinn.
Yeah, so we're adding a wrinkle this year, growing here in year two. Just like last year, we'll have one quarterback, two running backs, and two wide receivers. This year, we're also going to add in a defense. So it might be a very, very binary scoring system. You know, it might be pretty much strictly how many points you give up determines how many points you score as a defense, just because hard to figure out how many turnovers were in certain games. Again, it's all dependent on what coaches report and where we can get the information. So we'll roll with that, but we wanted to make sure that we could get all the guys on the other side of the ball in the mix as well. So without further ado, though, let's just get right into it. The order today, Johnny has the first overall pick. Brendan's right behind him. I'll be hitting third, and it is not a snake draft, so it'll just repeat in that order. So take us away, Johnny. You are on the clock with 1-1 for the 2023 season. Who is it? Who's first overall?
Yeah, it feels good. Obviously, a lot of turnover in high school football. So some of the guys that we would look to go to last year off the board, but not one of the guys who was in the room with us when we were awarding the Bill Wilhelm Award. I got to go Cassius Johnson from Plymouth South. I mean, he's a dog. I think he's going to come in this season and really look to continue his special ability and really continue, his play at Plymouth South. I was really impressed with him also when we had that interview in the Wilhelm Award dinner. I thought he was really well spoken. And his coach obviously spoke really highly of him. This specific match, week one, I think it's very favorable for Plymouth South, especially for Cassius Johnson running the ball against Silver Lake. So, yeah, I think I'd be foolish to not go Cassius Johnson in the first place.
Yeah, I think it was Chris McDaniel. I'm not exactly sure who I saw it, but they put it perfectly heading in in the season preview for Plymouth South that Cassius Johnson will continue his assault on the Plymouth South record book. I mean, that's pretty much it. It'll be interesting to see this year. He's going through the recruiting process, obviously trying to figure out where his next home is going to be. And now he has, Justin LaChance and his younger brother, Gio Ribeiro Lynch, right there with him in the backfield. So how much do they split carries? But he's a guy who I think he can pretty much pencil in to get his numbers. So I think a worthy 1-1. All right, Brennan, number 2 overall.
I'm going to look at a quarterbacks here because I feel like Hanover's going to have to keep up in this game with Duxbury. I'm going to go with Ben Scalzi. I feel like he's going to have to put up big numbers in order to keep that.
I like it. We talked a little bit on this Sunday show, kind of previewing this matchup. That's one place that I think Hanover has a real advantage going into this game is the experience at quarterback. Ben Scalzi comes back for year number 2. On the other side of things, you have Finn Carley just getting worked in for his first year at the helm in Duxbury. I think if they're going to win, it's going to be in large part because of Ben Scalzi and what he can do, and he's got a great group of receivers whose names I will not yet mention because I'm sure they will soon come off the board. If not this week, another. I'm gonna make it easy for Johnny because I have carried water for this team and for this player, and I'm going to continue to do it. But this means that Johnny can save his quarterback pick right till the very end. But I would be remiss if I didn't take Tyler Lennox out of Carver with my first overall pick, number 3 on the board. I think they got Nantucket this week. I like it. It's a Saturday. I like that I'm going to be up on Chestnut Hill at the tailgate with Johnny, taking in some BC Holy Cross, and that game is probably going to be awful on the field. So I'll just be scrolling through, updating, seeing how Tyler Lennox is doing, making sure he brings it home for me here in week 1. So I love it. I love Carver this year. I've been hard on them, so I gotta just go with my guns here. I'm going Tyler Lennox. All right, Johnny, take us into round 2.
Yeah, I'm going to save my quarterback pick till the end, which is a nice little bonus. Try to get some skill guys. I'm going to go over to Westwood. I'm going to go wide receiver out of Severian, Jonathan Montero. It's an interesting matchup against Everett, one that they took care of on the road last year. Obviously, that means it's home this year, and Severian is one of those teams where they have a lot of talent. They just necessarily haven't pieced it fully together like they have in the past. But, I think another year of working with Henry Hasselbeck will do Montero well. I'm going to go with him in round 2.
Yeah, Brendan had him as his pick, I believe, in the back 9 this past Sunday to possibly be a Super Bowl appearance. I think you put it perfectly, Johnny. I think that we've just been kind of waiting to see, is that talent going to translate? And maybe it's this year. Jonathan Montero is going to have to be a big piece of it. And if last year's matchup was any indication, Severian's just a step ahead right now of Everett, and it could be a big game for Montero. All right, Brendan, your second pick.
Has anyone picked Charlie Camella yet?
No, we're going right back to the Hawks.
Yep, going right back to the Hawks. I'm going to stick with Charlie Camella. I think it's going to be a big game for him.
I think it's the exact same reasoning that we were saying with Montero. Charlie, I didn't even realize until recently. So he's going to BC, following his father's footsteps, playing 2 ways. They're playing football and baseball. I didn't realize. So big stuff for Charlie. But he's been a fantastic running back for them. So I think equally just opportunities abound for the Hawks, I think, in week 1. I'm going to take my first running back off the board. It's a guy I mentioned as somebody that I'm looking at to be with us towards the end of the season when we're heading towards another Bill Wilhelm Award ceremony, and it's Liam Appleton out of Cohasset. They've got Abington this week. More than anything, I think it's just a ground and pound kind of week. I'm, kind of betting on the fact that the first game post Will Baker era for Cohasset, it's going to be a more focused ground game rather than just come in and try to air it out on a pretty good Abington defense right away. So I like Liam Appleton to get his touches. I think they're at Abington. I don't really love that he's on the natural grass. I think he's faster on turf, but I'm going to go with Appleton anyways. All right, kick off round 3, Johnny.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys. Week 1's so interesting. A lot of guys that I'd like to go with. So it's more of a matchup. I'm going to go back to wide receiver. I'm going to go to the Hanover-Duxbury game that Brendan mentioned. The reason he picked Scalzi. I'm going to go Makai Bryan from Hanover, the wide receiver. I think in order to beat Duxbury, they're going to have to throw the ball pretty well. He's a guy that's going to have to step up this year after, they lost a couple key pieces in the wide receiver core, and I think he will. And hopefully he starts week 1.
When I was over there at camp, I think the first thing I said to him when kind of gathered the captains was, "Wow, I had no idea how big you are. You just drafted an absolute house, Johnny." I mean, this kid is he's built like a D1 athlete already. I think that the reason that I like this is early on, it seems like people are keying in on another wide receiver at Hanover. Duxbury is going to have presumably their best defender on that guy. I think there's going to be open opportunities for Makai Bryan. I think he's a matchup problem given his height. So I love the pick. All right, Brendan, round 3.
I'm going to go to the Middleborough-Ponequid matchup. Always feels like this is a big scoring game, and I'm going with Nate Goodine as a receiver.
I think that he's going to be such a big piece of what they do. He and one other receiver there. I mean, they don't return a ton. It's interesting to see, how they're going to kind of pick it up, given that you lost Jacob Briggs, you lost Nate Tullish, Justin Mather. It's a big kind of regrouping year for them. But they have Brett Kowalker coming in at quarterback. I think he was at Bridgewater Raynham and transferred in. So I think an opportunity for Nate Goodine to kind of help out, not a young quarterback, but a quarterback playing his first game with Middleborough at Middleborough. So I like Nate Goodine there. I will, you know what? I might as well. Yeah, I'm going to close up my running back book then. I'm going to go with Will St. Pierre out of Hingham. I think that he's going to be just itching to go. In conversation with him, talking about, missed a lot of time last year with injury. Said it was the longest he'd ever been away from the football field. He's just raring to get back into it. Matchup wise against Braintree, that's a team who's had some solid defenses. I like the Womps, but I just think that a guy who's as motivated and juiced up for his first game, Will St. Pierre, is going to be matchup proof. So I'm going Will St. Pierre. All right, round 4.
Yeah, I want to go running back here. I've got a couple different options. This is tough. I'm gonna go the Norwell Nauset matchup. I'm gonna go Will Bostrom for Norwell. I think that's a guy that's gonna step in for them and really do some damage. And I think Nauset's an interesting matchup. It's on the road, so a little bit of travel down to Nauset. But I'm gonna go Bostrom and see if he gets out on a strong foot this year.
I think that when you talk to coaches around the area, everybody seems to feel like John Willis is going to have that Norwell program turning some heads this year. I think Bostrom will be at the center of that. I think they've got some good athletes, and it's going to be a tough test. I mean, Nauset's, I'd be lying to you if I told you I really knew what Nauset's roster looked like this year. They were solid last year. Beat Carver down the stretch, had some good wins on the schedule. So I think a big game for Norwell, and one where hopefully Bostrom can get him off on the right foot.
I think another thing about Bostrom is if they're going to go down and beat Nauset on the road, like he's got to, like you said, be at the center of that.
Yeah,
I would say that's good value in the 4th round.
I like it. I think it's great value in 4th round. So you are now clear in your skill position groups. You have quarterback and defense left to go. Brendan's got a running back and a defense left to go. I've got a wide receiver and a defense left to go.
I'm pretty fired up about the defense, Ad. I'll tell you that.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, I think it's it's a side of the ball. We gotta give the kids some props. I feel like what's gonna happen week 1 is I'm not going to like the way you score it, and we're going to make changes. I'm going to pick some team that gives up a lot but has a lot of turnovers, and then I'm going to get screwed.
It's going to be one of those things. I'm going to have to give points for turnovers if like we hear about them, if I know that they have. Yeah. But the problem is that just inevitably there will be weeks where I don't have any clue. There's just not a box score. I'm just really relying upon Huddle this year. I think that I found that was the most effective way, so I'm hoping it'll all be in there. I'll give a quick shout out. I think it's maybe the Telegram. So it's either Worcester's paper or somewhere out west. They do like an unbelievable job at keeping stats down to the most. Like if you could have a freshman check in a blowout game in the last minute and make a catch for -1 yards, and he's on the stats page. They have every single player in their area. They do such a great job with it. So hats up to them. All right, Brendan, your 4th round pick. I'm
going to go with another receiver here, another high scoring game. I think Situate versus Middleton.
I'm sorry. I think you're. Oh no, I'm sorry. I mischecked you. Go ahead.
I'm going to go with Joey Burke from Situate. I feel like he's going to have to have a big night for Situate to win this game. I feel like he's going to be one of their favorite targets.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I gave you an extra check somewhere, but my bad. You don't have a receiver. Joey Burke. I'm so excited for this matchup. I think it is going to be high scoring. I think it's two teams that are going to surprise some people this year. So, yeah, I love it. I am going to go. So I have my quarterback and I have 2 running backs, and I don't have a receiver. So that's why I give myself Brennan's check mark. I am going to go with Will McNamara from Pembroke. Whitman Hanson is going to be a tough physical game. It'll be interesting to see. I think that, I have great confidence in what Zach Patel is going to do with the Panthers this year, but as he said, they're going to be relying upon athletes on the defensive side of the ball. They're a little bit, smaller this year. They're going to have the speed to keep up with Will McNamara, but he's just got good size. I think, Owen Pace is going to burst onto the scene at quarterback. So give me Will McNamara with a chance to make some big plays in a big opening week matchup with Whitman Hansen going cross division in the Patriot League there. Johnny, round 5.
Well, a great little segue to the guy that I was looking at, the guy who's going to be throwing to McNamara.
Bang.
I'm going to go Pace. I'm going to go Owen Pace out of Pembroke. I think that's a fun little matchup. Pembroke, Whitman Hansen, week 1. Two teams looking to come out and get out on the right foot and start 1-0. And I think Pace, in order for Pembroke to do that, I think Pace is gonna have to step up. And like you said, a guy that can burst onto the scene this year. And if he can keep throwing to McNamara, we'll be in business.
Yeah, I love it. I've been racking my brain. It's escaping me. Do you remember the name of Pembroke's quarterback last year? He was a frequent pick in this draft.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
He was
I loved picking him.
Yeah, he was great. It kills me I can't remember because I can picture him. I can picture his silhouette on the graphic too. They've had good quarterback play the last 2 years, and I think Owen Pace kind of continues that for them.
Jake Falco.
Thank you. Oh yeah, Falco. You can't forget that. Yeah. I think Owen Pace seems poised to step up. He's got a great cast of weapons around him. I think Will McNamara is at the head of that, but if Will's not getting it done, there are plenty of other guys that are going to be for him. So I think Owen Pace is a great pick. All right, Brendan, running back and defense to close your book.
Okay, need a running back here.
Okay.
I'm looking at my list. It's tough. A couple of the big names are off the board. I'm going to go with Will Johnson out of Pembroke if he's still available.
Wow, a run on the Titans, 3 straight. Listen, he's a neck roll boy. That's all I need to say. I'm a fan. I hope he is again this year. I know he was last year. Big physical guy, looks more like a fullback than a running back, and he's got the neck roll, and so that's enough to make me for a fan for life. I think we've talked about this matchup. I think they just need the offense to get going, right? People are high on them because of their offense, so let's see what they got. Week 1, we're going to test it out. I'll close up. So you guys have, I'm gonna take the first swing into the defense because you both need it. So I'm gonna be the first to get it off the board. I'm gonna go with the Plymouth South defense matchup with Silver Lake this week. I like what that group. I like the physicality of the group. I like the size of the group. And Darren Fruzzetti kind of talked about it with me. Listen, we're gonna try to play kind of keep away. I didn't phrase it like that. I don't want to, misquote, but we're going to run the ball. We're going to work the clock, and then we're going to play good defense. Like that's how we're going to get it done this year. I think that they've got a great defense. I think they've made their money on defense in recent years. Gavin Schultz in the center of that linebacking core is a beast. So yeah, give me Plymouth South first defense in the history of the WATD Fantasy Draft. All right, Johnny.
I wanted them. It was foolish to not pick them last round when I knew no.
You didn't have to go quarterback.
I know, but I felt bad. It was
a good segue.
Yeah, it was. Let's see. I'm gonna go Rockland. They're playing on the road against Seekonk. I think that's a team that's gonna come out flying this year defensively, and they're gonna get some big stops.
I like it. I think they got a ton of talent. I think they return more on defense than on offense. I think that's a solid pick for them. All right, Brendan, your defense to close out your board.
I'm going to go with Hull in their matchup with South Shore Oak. I think it's a favorable matchup for them. They lost a lot of key pieces, but I still think it's a good tilt.
Yeah, I was looking at somebody in that matchup at a different position. I think you're right. I think it's a good week 1 test for Hull, but I think they should be up to the task. So I think that's a solid pick for you there. So just to make sure I didn't lose track, no, I do need my last wide receiver. I'll close the board. I'm going to dip my toe into the EB-WB matchup, a little crosstown rivalry. I'm going to go with Chris Ullman. Ton of speed. I'll put the speed of my wide receiver group between Ullman and McNamara up against anybody's. I think that I'm just hoping that I get some burners that can hit on some big plays and score in bunches. That's the game plan this week. So Chris Ullman out of EB, and that closes up the week 1 fantasy draft. So again, we got a great slate this week. We'll have Duxbury Hanover on Thursday and Situate Milton on Friday. Right now, we're scheduled to have the WATD Fantasy Draft release on Wednesday night every week. We'll see if that gives you guys enough time. Might slide it up a day if we want to get people involved picking their teams. But yeah, for now, that's the story. Week 1 in the books. We'll read them off again. Johnny, Owen Pace out of Pembroke at quarterback. Cassius Johnson out of Plymouth South, and Will Bostrom out of Norwell at the running back position. John Montero and Mackay Bryan out of Severian and Hanover, respectively, at wide receiver, and the Rockland defense. Brendan Ben Scalzi at quarterback. Running backs Charlie Camella out of Severian and Will Johnson out of Pembroke. Wide receivers Nate Goodine and Joey Burke out of Middleborough and Situate. And the Hull defense, I am led by Tyler Lennox at quarterback out of Carver, Liam Appleton and Will St. Pierre, Cohasset and Hingham for my running backs, Will McNamara out of Pembroke, and Chris Oman out of EB at the wide receiver position, and the Plymouth South defense. All right, week 1 draft in the books. We will see you Thursday night, tomorrow night, live from Duxbury. Dragons and the Hawks, big week 1 tilt. Until then, for Brendan, for Johnny, I'm Quinn. We'll see you next time.